Old, she was the very same Zeshia who had once asked me to save Mama. The other Zeshias were in no state to attend school, so they were being cared for in another manner. Okay, everyone take your seats. Let me introduce the new exchange. Students, sure you all know them already. Ileonor grinned. Ileonor Bianca from the Hero Academy. Zeshia glanced around restlessly, as though she didn't know where she was. This little one is Zeshia Bianca, Ileonor explained. She's not too good at talking yet, but she's a great listener. Zeshia, can you introduce yourself? Zeshia stared at the students. I'm Zeshia Bianca. She bowed her head. The students stirred noisily at the sight of them. The Hero Academy. Is the educational exchange still going on? Right, mean Asian declared war on us. The Demon King put a stop to that, but why would they continue the exchange? Mino addressed their complaints, undaunted. Understand everyone's concerns. Dilhade and Asian were just at war, but it was determined that the former headmaster, Diego Ijiska, was the one behind everything, not all. Humans are hostile towards demons. That information had already spread throughout Dilhade, since the battle hadn't reached any cities. The citizens hadn't felt the true effects of war, making it easier for them to accept the circumstances. However, the students of this class had been confined to a Hero Academy dormitory for the entire duration of the battle. It was only natural for them to be less accepting. Asian has requested another educational exchange in order to demonstrate their amity with Dilhade. That is the reason Delskade will be host to Ileonor and Zeshia. The students were dissatisfied by Mino's explanation. That doesn't make them any easier to trust. What if they just pinned the blame on that Diego guy because they lost, when it's actually the entire academy that wants us dead? Not just the entire academy, but the entirety of Asian. Who suggested we continue the exchange in the first place? Yeah, even without the war, those guys insulted the Demon King of tyranny. There's no way we'd get along. As royals, we will not accept those who look down on our founder. Page 26 Golden Agato, MP4 directs. It seemed that most of the students complaining were royalists, and their discontent was directed at the Hero Academy more than Asian as a whole. All right, understand everyone's frustration, but a low chuckle echoed through the classroom. The voice had come from a tall man standing by the door. He was slim with purple hair and matching eyes. Judging from his robes, he was probably a teacher, but the robes were white, which was unusual for a teacher. After all, it was the color worn by non-royalty. This man was anything but royal, but that was a given. He had been alive far longer than even the 7 demon elders knew him well. However, his appearance here was a surprise, especially since how comical. The man stepped up to the teacher's podium. Ah, ye may take your seats. Ileonor and Zeshia made their way over to the open seats behind me. Thanks for the help, Anos, Ileonor said quietly. I've received your gratitude already. She laughed. I'll say it as many times as I want to. Really, thank you. No problem, replied, turning to look at the man at the podium. Something wrong? Ileonor asked. No, it's nothing important. Mino turned to the blackboard and started writing. Okay, let's move on. From the exchange. No, you're not happy about it, but these girls haven't done anything wrong. After you spend some time together, you'll realize Ileonor and Zeshia aren't the type to cause trouble. Mino finished writing. Eldam Ditigan. It was the man's name. And now, for one last introduction, you're finally getting the new teacher I mentioned some time ago. The man stepped forward. Eldamd shall now impart 2,000 years of knowledge onto your ignorant selves. The students frowned at his arrogant tone. An incompetent teacher who isn't even a royal, one student muttered. Mino immediately corrected him. Mr. Eldamd is an excellent teacher. He isn't royal, but there's a good reason for that. He was born in an era long before the 7 demon elders came to be. He was a ruthless rival of the demon king of tyranny, who, in the Great War, joined hands with him to fight for the sake of demonkind. His knowledge will be of great benefit to you all. Page 27 Golden Agato, MP4 directs. Calm despite Mino's explanation, the students seemed unconvinced. In that case, allow me to elaborate on why I implied you lack knowledge. Eldamd looked down on the students as he spoke. First of all, the one who decided on this educational exchange was the demon king of tyranny himself. The students stirred. Second, his name is not Avos Dilhevia. The legends regarding the demon king of tyranny were spread with error. The chattering in the classroom grew louder. Finally, the reincarnation of the demon king of tyranny frequents this very room. What? What is he saying? That's impossible. As the students muttered among themselves, he stared straight at me. Well, see thy reincarnation succeeded, Demon King Anos Valdigode. Page 28 Golden Agato, MP4 directs. Com Section 5, Proof of the Demon King. The classroom burst into an uproar. What an idiot. You've gotta be kidding me. That has to be prejudice speaking. But the shouts weren't all negative. Finally, a new era is here. It's time for the legend of Lord Anos to recommence. The frantic mix of voices was the embodiment of pure chaos. Suddenly, one of the male students, a royalist, slammed his hands on his desk and stood up. Wait just 1 minute, he said. Even if you are a teacher, I can't overlook such remarks. You think Anos is the demon king of tyranny. He's the only misfit here. You know that the aptitude test measures aptitude as the demon king, right? His argument was sound. The other royalist students chimed in as well. Damn right, you're free to side with the Unitarians, but you'd better quit. Now if you plan on feeding us fake-ass propaganda. That's right, this is abuse of authority. I've never even heard of a white uniform teacher. You may have been around 2,000 years ago, but there's no place here for some old geezer. Mino opened her mouth to say something, but Eldam stopped her with a wave. Such ignorance, he said, sighing. The history of demonkind and the teachings of this academy are falsities. The demons of 2,000 years ago fabricated these lies in order to protect the demon king of tyranny. The royalist students looked dubious. I'm sure the recent war between Dilhade and Asian is still a fresh memory. In your ignorant minds, for 2,000 years, Asian had been plotting to destroy the demon king of tyranny. That is why demonkind banded together to invent a fake demon king for Asian to defeat. The details get rather convoluted, so I shall skip straight to the conclusion. The fabricated demon king. Page 29, Golden Agato, MP4 directs. Commies the Avos Dilhevia you believe in. The royalist students processed the new information in various ways. Some blinked in disbelief, some expressed outrage, while others laughed scornfully. But not one of them believed him. The reason the true demon king was branded, a misfit, was to prevent humankind from noticing his presence. That effort paid off when your reactions led the human students into dismissing Anos Valdigode as the demon king of tyranny. The mastermind of the Asian plot died in the battle, and with everything over, there is no longer a need to hide the demon king's true identity. The white-clad teacher drew a magic circle in the air. Open your eyes to reality. The brand of the misfit was proof of the demon king all along. The spell Eldamd had cast was Zect, adjusted for use as proof of identity. Inscribed on the contract was everything the teacher had just said. The cost of breaking the contract was one's life, and it bore the signatures of all the prominent demons of this era. The most notable were the 7 at the top. Hey, the signatures on that Zect. That's for Lord Melhaze, Lord Ivis, Lord Idal, All of the 7 demon elders are there. You're kidding me. Does that mean the 7 demon elders recognize Anos as the demon king of tyranny? There's no way, it's impossible. He's a white uniform misfit. His bloodline is nowhere near as pure as ours. Eldamd looked over at me once more. Anos Valdigode, he said, stepping away from the podium. Please make thy way here. What was he planning? Stood up and made my way to the podium. Disappear, the man said, and the desks and chairs in the classroom vanished. The seated students nearly fell to the ground, but they somehow managed to catch themselves. I'm no follower of the Demon King, but your attitudes are inexcusable. No matter how peaceful this era may be, you need to learn your place. The first students to react were the girls of the fan union, who knelt on the spot. Sasha, Misha, Lay, and Missa followed suit. What is the meaning of this? Eldamd asked the remaining students. We're still standing, unable to process the situation. Ye are in the presence of the Almighty Demon King. Lower your heads. Page 30 Golden Agato MP4 directs. Calm at those words, Mino, too, reacted and knelt before me. Glanced at her. I heard everything from Lord Melhaze, she said quietly. Once Mino knelt, the other students followed. Only the royalists remained standing. It was no wonder, really. Their whole world had been flipped upside down. Why doth thou not kneel? Eldamd asked, addressing the student who'd argued with him earlier. Is this an act of rebellion against the demon king of tyranny? And no, it's just, this is what we've been taught until now, Mr. Eldamd. Ignorant boy, have already told thee thine education was a lie. Even if you say that, it's not easy to believe right away. Thy circumstances are not my concern, he said, brushing aside the student's words. Whether thou believest matters not. Everything thou believed was a fabricated reality. Royalty is not superior. Thou dost not have any special privileges. The demon king of tyranny has requested that all be treated as equals. The student clenched his teeth. The curtains have long fallen. The role of royalty and the royalists is no longer necessary to Dilhade's future. Trying to perform that role once the play has ended isn't merely ignorant, it's absurd. The students hung their heads, but the Zect before them prevented them from rebutting. The activities of the royalists had until now been supported by the 7 demon elders, but who could argue with their signatures? With humiliation on their faces, the royalists clenched their fists and slowly sank to their knees. If thou couldst give a few words, Eldamd said, looking at me. Sure, moved my finger and drew as many magic circles as there were students in the class. The chairs and desks that had vanished returned to their places, but have a seat first, I said to them. The students looked confused. Dilhade is at peace. There is no longer a need for a demon king of tyranny. Those who wish to acknowledge me may do so. Those who don't may refuse. You're all free to live your lives as you please. This era allows for that. Be the master of your own convictions. Yes, Lord Anos. The students called at once. Most of the voices came from the fan union, but there were others amongst them, the voices of students in white uniforms, who had relieved looks on their faces. In contrast, the royalists. Page 31 Golden Agato, MP4 directs. Come more bitter expressions. Well, there was no helping that. All Canon had told Dilhade was that the demon king of tyranny would reincarnate as a royal. Pureblood supremacy and royalist privileges were problems they'd created themselves. The 7 demon elders had only posed as royalists in order to prevent the group from going too far. The royalists' humiliation and agony were products of their own ugly emotions. They were likely to suffer as the correct history of demonkind was further revealed, but that was something they'd brought on themselves, so they'd simply have to overcome it. As history is corrected, you'll all come to that realization yourselves. Wasn't going to correct it with my own words. But there's one thing I wish to say. There was no telling if they would listen, but still had to get it off my chest. My blood is not precious. It's no different from that of an ordinary demon. Neither noble nor powerful. Those qualities come from your own hearts. Determined by your own feelings and beliefs. That is what you should be. Refining. Be troubled, be lost, be conflicted. Nobility is something one must struggle for. Yes, Lord Anos, the students replied. The royalists could only stare in shame at the floor. It's not that unusual to discover that what one believes is false. What happened this time was merely on a larger scale. Don't place your beliefs and values in the hands of others. Otherwise, they'll be easily overthrown. Don't live as royalty or hybrids. Live as individuals. Be yourselves. Yes, Lord Anos. Now sit. Don't plan on reigning over you. At that, the students raised their heads. When Lei, Misha, and Sasha took their seats, the others felt relieved enough to do the same. Okay, Mino called, taking back control of the class. Now let's get back on track. From now on, your lessons will be held by Mr. Eldamd. If you have any questions about a past lesson of mine, you can find me in the third year's classroom. And finally, Mino paused and looked at me. Lord Anos. Address me as you have until now. Allow all my followers to speak freely. Then, Anos, will you continue taking lessons? I looked at the teacher in the white uniform. He was staring into space, his expression unreadable. Page 32, Golden Agato MP4 directs. Calm. Don't have anything better to do, so think I'll enjoy myself here for a while. All right, Mino turned to the students. Know you've all been through a lot, but please hang in there. I'll be happy to listen to any of your troubles. Oh. And the identity of the demon king of tyranny will be announced to the rest of Dilhade soon, so please keep it a secret until then. See you around. With that, Mino left the room. Now, Eldamd said, let's begin the lesson. Thou mayest return to thy seat. Demon king of tyranny. Conflagration King Eldamd called out. Why did you come to the demon King Academy? It was not but a whim. I see. It all made sense now. Started slowly walking. That's a terrible disguise, Nisgalia, said as I passed him. He watched me. His expression blank. What business did a god have here, possessing a demon vessel? Take thy seat, demon king of tyranny, he replied. Shall personally see to thine instruction. Page 33, Golden Agato MP4 directs. Section 6, a god's lecture. Turned my magic eyes on Nisgalia. There was nothing suspicious about the movement of his magic, so it didn't seem as though he were plotting anything immediate. Has the world of the gods changed at all? From 2,000 years ago till this day, the heavenly realm has been defined by order, Nisgalia said matter-of-factly. He didn't seem to be harboring any hostility, but couldn't let my guard down. He wouldn't have possessed Eldam's body and posed as a teacher for nothing. There'll be no tricks from you, warned him, before returning to my seat. With no way of telling what he was up to, would have to keep an eye on him. Now, to begin the lesson, Nisgalia said, spreading his arms before him. His solemn voice carried through the classroom. The world is structured by order. That is what makes this world what we know it to be. It is why birds are birds, and why demons are demons. It is why the skies bless the earth with rain, and why the soil nurtures the trees. It is what creates light when magic is sent into a magic circle. That is the law of nature, the law of magic, the order that makes the world this world. His voice was confident and clear as he spoke. The students all listened, their mouths wide open. The beings who preserve that order, the beings who embody that order, are the highest order of natural law, the gods. During the war 2,000 years ago, the demon king of tyranny opposed the gods. Anos Valdigo desired a power that could overthrow natural law. That is, he desired a miracle. He laid Waste to the world. Demons perished, humans perished, spirits vanished without a trace. In order to put an end to the devastation of the world, a miracle, the power to change the world's order, was needed, but the demon king sought that miracle and stole it. This story sure brought back memories. During the mythical age, Aberniu, the goddess of destruction, who had long overseen the order of destruction in this world, was felled from the heavens by the demon king. The demon king overwrote the god's name, erasing that. Page 34 Golden Agato, MP4 directs. Commorder from this world, and giving rise to the demon king Castle Delscade. Back then, the goddess of destruction had been the primary cause of all the death and destruction, which is why it had had to vanquish her. All paths lead to destruction. That was the order of the goddess of destruction, until it was usurped by the demon king. Destruction in the world came to a halt. Those who should have died evaded death, and those who should have fallen to ruin escaped their demise. The order of our world had been distorted. Other gods affiliated with the order of destruction made up for that where they could, but they couldn't return the world to the way it had been before. The result is what thou seest before thee 2,000 years later. The reason in Gaul, the resurrection spell in Agronomt, the source regeneration spell, could be cast with such high success rates was because the goddess of destruction had been contained in a new form, as the demon king. Castle Delscade, in order to prevent the devastating power of the god from leaking into the world, had converted that power into my own spell. Venice de Noah. By removing the order of destruction, demons and humans were much less likely to die for good. The balance of life and death, which had previously been decided by that order, had from then on leaned faintly in favor of life, giving birth to hope in this world. The number of demons continued to increase beyond what the order decreed, and the human population multiplied far more than that. Without destruction, there is no creation. In order to protect his own race, the demon king had stolen the potential for a new race to be born. This is the reason even the gods refer to Anno's Valdigode as the demon king of tyranny. That much was true. The gods who maintained orders likely to be jeopardized were especially wary of me. At this rate, this world's order will continue down its path of chaos, even as I speak, new life is being destroyed before it has a chance at birth. With this in mind, the gods decided to create a new order to destroy the demon king of tyranny. Come to think of it, Niscalia had once mentioned something like that. He could have quite simply wiped out my bloodline to accomplish his goal, but it seemed he had failed in that respect. Perhaps the goddess of destruction's absence was holding the gods back. Gods were the embodiment of order. Their powers were immense, but at the same time, they were unable to deviate from the order that bound them. Page 35 Golden Agato.